Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of the New Year Six podcast. Apologies for the delay on my end. Caught a bug coming back from Gainesville, and down and out for the last week or so, but ready to come back at it with a week four recap episode and then get us ready for week five. So, looking back at week four, phenomenal week of football, a lot of top tier talent, all around the country playing each other, and we're gonna kick it off just like I have every other video from the recap perspective. Just go conference by conference, team by team, focus on the winners, and then call out a few players that rose to the occasion there. So, kicking us off in the American, just to roll through that real quick. Tulsa squeaking by Northern Illinois. USF getting a good win against Rice. ECU taking care of business against Gardner-Webb, and Tulane knocking out Nichols. So, fairly pedestrian week for the American, and want to give him some shout-outs here on offense. We'll pass it over to USF with a phenomenal receiver performance from Naeem Simon. 8 catches, 222 yards, and a touchdown. Big type of performance against Rice. Only a 13-point win. And, that type of performance is the difference between winning and losing. So, Naeem Simon taking care of business, making those plays for USF is the reason why, they took home that win. So, congratulations to Naeem for being the Offensive Player of the Week in the American Conference. On the defense, we'll go back to that Tulsa NIU game, close one. And got to give it up to Kendrian Ray. 8 tackle performance, 2 assists with a pass defended / interception in there. Again, it's a one possession game, and that type of performance when you're taking the ball away from an opponent goes a long way in getting things done, and ultimately takes home the win for you. So, Kendrian Ray defense for Tulsa, Naeem Simon on offense for USF. You are the conference players of the week for the American. It didn't look too good as a whole. This conference as a whole didn't look too good this week, but with conference play coming up, I think the wins will start to pile up for a lot of these teams. So, moving on to the ACC here, NC State winning a game they really had no business winning against UVA. UVA shot themselves in the foot just in those last 40 or so seconds, 3 penalties. Awful performance by UVA. It's bad out there. Florida State getting a huge win on the road at Clemson in overtime. That's one of the biggest games of the week, one of the biggest wins of the week. FSU 4-0, looking very good heading into the heart of their ACC season, fully in playoff mode and ready to make a name for themselves, continue to make a splash. UNC taking care of Pitt, no worries there. Duke and Miami knocking out UConn and Temple with ease, no issues there. Syracuse winning a somewhat close one against Army, but I think Army was up at the half, but Syracuse came back late. Good look for them. Louisville just beating the hell out of Boston College. Boston College is, they're not a Power 5 team right now. They look terrible. Louisville undefeated, keeping it moving. Georgia Tech taking care of their business against Wake Forest. They're up 2-2 right now, and they can make some noise if it's all said and done. So keep an eye out for Tech. But other than that, I think we saw what we had to see from the ACC this week. From the offensive perspective, player of the week, I'm going to actually go back to that Louisville game. Give it up for Jack Plummer, man. Louisville knows how to make them QBs. Jack Plummer rose to the occasion with 388-yard passing performance with 5 touchdowns, and then at a 2-yard TD run. So a 6 TD total performance. That's enough on his own to take out Boston College. That's prolific. That's exactly what you need from your starting guy. There's a reason why Louisville's undefeated. There's a reason why they're slept on right now. There's a reason why I have them ranked, and Plummer is the reason why. So, give it up to Louisville for making that happen, for getting it done, and Jack Plummer for being the catalyst behind it. On defense, I'm going to go to the Tech Wake Forest game. I'm going to go with Kyle Kennard, a 4 tackle performance, 4 assists, and then a 4 sack performance. I know Wake is down this year, but 4 sacks is 4 sacks, and that's against a conference opponent at a high level. Gotta give him credit where it's due. That is spectacular. Just blowing up that O line, getting into the backfield, and making sure Wake Forest knows he's there. So, Kyle Kennard on defense for Georgia Tech, Jack Plummer on offense for Louisville. You are the ACC Players of the Week. Your teams took home W's, and then we'll see what they got coming up this week here. Moving on to the Big 12 here. Texas, no issue with Baylor. Oklahoma, a little bit slower against Cincinnati than what we like to see. Want to establish them that consistency, but again, a win is a win. TCU taking care of their rival SMU, no issues there. Undefeated Kansas took out BYU in a fairly close one. West Virginia really making us all look foolish by taking out Texas Tech, who is now down to, I believe, 1-3. They were one of my sleeper teams for the year, and Texas Tech looks terrible. West Virginia is keeping that Neil Brown's job alive, and they're playing for him. So got to give him credit there. Iowa State coming out and beating Oklahoma State. The offensive performance is really what came alive. I think the over on that line was like 30-something, and Iowa State did that on their own. They got 34 to Oklahoma State's 27, so good day for the offense out there. Houston, declaring that they are the real Houston over Sam Houston in an easy one, and then Kansas State getting a bounce-back win against UCF. On offense, I'm going to stick with that Kansas State game, and I'm going to give it up to BJ Giddens. 207 yards rushing, 4 TDs on the ground, and then an 8-catch, 86-yard performance. I mean, take that out of the equation, UCF wins the game. Kansas State bounced back after an improbable win, or an improbable loss against Mizzou. I mean, I don't think anyone really saw that result the way that it played out. Kansas State comes back and shows they mean business. So got to give it up to Kansas State for making that happen. Got to give it up to BJ Giddens for making it happen. So Giddens, you are the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. And then on defense, I'm going to go back to the Oklahoma-Cincinnati game. It definitely was a defensive highlight reel for Oklahoma, only giving up 6. And Danny Stutzman is one of those catalysts behind it. A 7-tackle performance, 6 assists. 3.5 tackles for loss and a sack. Just that consistent linebacker play that you need for Oklahoma. One of the reasons why Oklahoma has just been able to shut down teams defensively this year. And he showed up again against a quality opponent in Cincinnati. So give it up to Danny Stutzman being the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week. Moving on now, we're going to the Big 10. Wisconsin knocking out Purdue, no problems there. Michigan rolling Rutgers, no issues there. Ohio State with the win of the week, literally last second score against Notre Dame to get a crucial road win for an Ohio State team that I think a lot of people were doubting. And they showed up big. It's a talented Notre Dame squad. They locked them down. They locked them down on offense. Sam Hartman is not the Heisman frontrunner for me anymore. But Ohio State did what they needed to do. They came out of South Bend with a win, and as far as I'm concerned, they're in the driver's seat for the next month or so. They only have a few toss-up at most games coming up. It's their conference to win. It's their playoff to make, and this was the game that was going to decide their path this year, and they stepped up and delivered. Penn State blanking Iowa at the whiteout. I mean, Penn State's another one that's looked very, very good this year. They can be someone to watch for. Illinois winning a close one against FAU. I don't know if it means FAU is kind of good or Illinois is bad. Something in the middle. I don't really know. But a win is a win. You take it home with you. Maryland beating up the scraps of Michigan State, whatever they've got left. That's a long season they've got ahead of them. And taking care of business there. Nebraska, taking care of Louisiana Tech, no real issue there. Indiana needing 4 overtimes to beat Akron. I mean, come on, Tom Allen, come on. And I saw that video afterwards where they're doing the alma mater and in the locker room. It's like, Jesus Christ, guys, that was rough. 1 and a 2, and you know what to do. I'm like, oh no, oh no, we're really doing this today. Um, but again, gotta move on. They look a far cry away from the team that kept it somewhat close against Ohio State. And then Northwestern getting a good win against Minnesota there. Northwestern now, I believe, 2-2. So be on the watch for them. On the offensive side of the ball, who I want to give my praise to, I'll stick with that Northwestern game. Bryce Kurtz, a 10-catch, 215-yard, 2 TD performance against Minnesota. And Minnesota is no slouch defensively. They struggle offensively, but the defense for Minnesota usually locks down. Not last week, not against this Northwestern squad. So Bryce Kurtz figured out the way to exploit Minnesota, and he made the most of it. A 2 TD performance, 215 yards. I mean, that's a massive set of numbers there, and he made it happen. So got to give it up for Bryce Kurtz. You are the offensive player of the week for the Big Ten for Week 4. And then on defense, I'll give it to Bo Brady out of Maryland, taking down Michigan State. A 6-tackle performance, 4 assists, half a tackle for a loss, and then a pass defended / interception. Michigan State really did not pose any type of threat to Maryland so far. Maryland has looked very legit so far this year. They are 4-0. We'll see if they can get the 5-0 this week. I believe they have Ohio State next week. So the dream may be over, but as far as we're concerned, Maryland has really delivered so far this year, and Bo Brady's been a key part of that against. At least I know Michigan State is like on their last legs, but to me that's always going to be a quality program of sorts. You still have talent in that roster, regardless of how they're being coached. And Maryland, took them to the woodshed. So I've got to give it up to Bo Brady for making that happen for Maryland. You are the defensive player of the week for the Big Ten for Week 4. Moving over to Conference USA here. Only 2 wins to speak of. CUSA kind of got pummeled this week. Jacksonville State took down Eastern Michigan 21-0, and then Liberty, again, took FIU to the woodshed. So not a whole lot to talk about if you're CUSA. A lot more losses than wins, but conference play is coming up. It'll kind of even itself out. For the offensive and defense player of the week, I'm going to stick with that Liberty game. Going to be no surprise on offense. The offensive player of the year, more likely than not, is going to be Caden Slater out of Liberty. 156 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then 77 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns. I mean, that alone, that's a 4 TD performance. You don't need the rest of the team. They win with just him. So that's your quarterback being that type of dual threat guy, being that guy that can make those plays. He's gigantic. He could probably play at a lower level Power 5 program if he were to transfer. But the reality is he's at Liberty. He's doing a great job. And, he's the offensive player of the week for CUSA. On defense, sticking with Liberty, Tyron Dupree, a 7-tackle performance with 1 assist, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. I mean, when you only have 2 teams to pick from, Liberty or JSU, your options are limited either way for both of these positions. But Liberty has looked good so far for a Group of 5 school. Liberty's looked legit, and they're doing what they need to do. They're winning the games that they need to game, and it's because of performances like Slater's and like Dupree's that it's happening. So give them credit for both, and really looking forward to seeing how this team progresses over the course of the rest of the season. Not going to be anything for Independent because they went 0-4 this week. Notre Dame lost, UMass lost, UConn lost, Army lost. Skipping Independence. You don't get to be player of the week if your team loses. The wins are required here. Coming out the MAC, we do have some teams to talk about there. Toledo winning a somewhat close win against Western Michigan with an 18 point. Yeah, that's like 3 scores, not that close. Ohio, demolishing Bowling Green. Miami demolishing Delaware State, and then Central Michigan winning a close win against South Alabama. So with that in mind, offensive player of the week, I'll give it to I'll go with that Central Michigan game. Jace Bauer, 224 yards and a touchdown, passing, and then 55 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. So not the usual. You usually flip those types of the numbers. It would usually be 2-2-4-4 and then 55-1. But Bauer's a beast on the ground. Yeah, he finds the end zone. You take those four away, and South Alabama wins it. South Alabama is tough. This is not a walk in the park out of conference game. This is a legit opponent for Central Michigan, and quite frankly, I think Central Michigan played up to the level of South Alabama, not the other way around. So, got to give credit for Central Michigan for making that happen, and Jace Power for being the QB to lead your team to victory against South Alabama. So, Chase Bauer, you are the MAC Offensive Player of the Week. On defense, I'll go to that Toledo game against Western Michigan. Emmanuel, yeah, Emmanuel McNeil Warren on Toledo's defense there. An 8-tackle performance with 5 assists and then 3 passes defended, one of them being an interception. So just playing all over the field, getting back into the secondary there, and protecting your airspace. I mean, Toledo took care of business against which Western wasn't particularly close by the way, but that performance and getting a takeaway involved as well is gigantic. So putting that all together is huge for Toledo, who again is looking real good right now. They're 3-1 and climbing. But I said early in the season this could be the best Toledo team in school history, and if they keep playing like that, it's going to happen. So guys like McNeil Warren coming together is going to be huge. So gotta give it up to Emmanuel McNeil Warren on Toledo's defense for being the MAC Player of the Week on defense for Week 4. Coming over to Western Michigan, or no, Mountain West. Wow, I'm still got the MAC in my mind. Boise State winning a close one against San Diego State. Air Force taking care of business against San Jose State, no issues there. New Mexico winning a close win against UMass. Colorado State winning a close win against Middle Tennessee. Wyoming winning by 3 against App State. UNLV taking care of business against UTEP. Fresno State, a ranked Fresno State, by the way, blowing up Kent State, and then Hawaii winning a squeaker against New Mexico State here. So on offense, we're going to give it to Boise State. We'll go back there with Ashton Genty, 205 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, combined with 4 catches for 49 yards. It was a close one against a talented San Diego State team. That type of rushing performance and establishing that ground game is gigantic for Boise State, especially when your margin of victory is only 3. So got to give it up to Jonty for making that happen for Boise State. You're going to be the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Week for Week 4. And on defense here, I got to split. I got to split on this one. I'm going to give Co. I don't like doing the Co Players of the Week, but it's not 2 players that I'm split on both, so just give it up to both. Wyoming with a big win against App State. I don't think people picked Wyoming to beat App State, personally speaking. App State has looked pretty good so far this year. Wyoming in their own right has looked good as well. But App State kind of carries that name brand with them a little bit. It kind of, especially when you're thinking who's going to win this game. But Wyoming got it done. A lot of it came on the play of Rook Brown. So a 4-tackle performance with 3 assists on the tackles. Ended up in an interception as well as a fumble recovery. So those 2 turnovers in his name are pretty big when it's all said and done, making this happen. The type of performance you're expecting from Brown, especially in a close one against App State, is gigantic. And if those two takeaways don't come out, App State could have scored on both those drives, and then it's a different ball game. So got to give it up for Brown on Wyoming's defense, and then I want to go to that UNLV game with Jackson Turner. So solo tackle, did have 6 assists, had a tackle for a loss, but those 2 interceptions for Turner against UTEP are huge. I love the takeaways. Don't get me wrong. That's what kind of has me up in the air between these 2. They both had 2 takeaways. You love to see it as a as a defense. You love to see when your guy comes down with it. And Turner's been that consistent play, that consistent big play against Utah is what's going to carry UNLV for the rest of the season. So, got to give it up for both Jackson Turner and Rook Brewer as the co-Mountain West Defensive Players of the Week for Week 4. Now we're going to move over to the Pac-12 here. Um, so let's go with USC, knocking out Arizona State in a game that was probably a lot closer than what anyone was expecting, but a win is a win. Washington, looking, they're actually dominant against a Cal team that I think is pretty underrated, but Washington took them and ripped them apart like they were nothing. Oregon, in the biggest spotlight imaginable that they've seen so far this year, just, beat the brakes off Colorado. Um, I think Colorado's been put into an unfair position just by the fact that they had no business being ranked heading into that game. But what Dion has done to build that program up is fantastic. But anyone putting them in their top 10 after a win against TCU is foolish to begin with. TCU wasn't in the top 10 to begin with, so you're gonna have Colorado leapfrog everyone just because they won a flashy game late. It's not fair to those kids, but it's the difference between Oregon and Colorado is Oregon's kind of the quote unquote establishment, and Colorado is it's the new guy on the block. I'm not saying Colorado can't be in Oregon one day, but it's going to take more than 3 games to get there. But Oregon showed up and showcased why they have national championship aspirations this year. Utah winning an ugly close one against UCLA. That's kind of been Utah's MO this whole year, at least until Cam Rising comes back, which is who knows when. Washington State beating a good Oregon State team, and as far as I'm concerned, Washington State is one of the surprises of this year as well. I thought they'd kind of tinker around bowl eligibility, but Wazoo's looked nice so far. Got to give them credit for that. And then Arizona winning a close one against Stanford. We'll see what Arizona looks like over the course of season 2. They can be one to watch as well. Offensive player of the week. I'm going to go with that Wazoo win against Oregon State. Got to give it up to Josh Kelly. An 8-catch, 159 yard, 3 touchdown performance. And also, it highlights the fact to me that Kelly's been electric. Don't get me wrong. Kelly's been absolutely incredible so far this year. But so far, my Heisman favorite is coming out of the Pac-12, and it's not Caleb Williams, and it's not Bo Nix, and it's not Michael Penix. It's Cam Ward. This kid is dynamic. I'm very interested to see what the rest of the season looks like, but that dynamic duo of Cameron Ward and then Josh Kelly there with them, it's been just as good as a 1-2 punch as any other team in the conference. So keep an eye out for that. That's my current Heisman favorite, but we'll see as the season kind of progresses. But great game for Josh Kelly. Those 3 TDs are the difference between winning and losing, and he got it done for Washington State. On defense, I'm going to go to that Utah-UCLA game. I'm going to go with Jonah Ellis, a 7-tackle performance, 2 assists, and then 5 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks. The dude was all over the field, all over the backfield, hitting Dante Moore, doing everything that needed to be done there. So got to give it up defensively for Utah. That's been the backbone of their program so far this year, and Jonah Ellis has been a keystone part of our team. So Ellis will be my Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week for Week 4. Now we're going to go to the SEC. Got 2 more left. Just going to fire through these. Georgia, no problem with UAB. LSU winning a close one against Arkansas. Bama with a comeback feeling, kind of a riding of the path against Ole Miss. Took care of business there. Tennessee, again, doing this kind of the same thing that Bama did against UTSA. Not as high of a quality opponent, but still kind of that bounce back after a tough loss. Florida, not looking great against Charlotte. That was a rough one, but see what they can do against Kentucky this week. A&M, really taking it to Auburn. No real issues with them. Curious to see what the QB situation looks like for the rest of the year with Wegman out, but we'll get to that on the line. Kentucky taking care of business against Vandy. Mizzou doing the same against Memphis. And then South Carolina wrapping it up against Mississippi State. So on offense, offensive player of the week in the SEC, I'm going to go with that South Carolina game. I'm going to go with South Carolina over Mississippi State. Xavier Legette with a 5-catch, 189-yard, 2-touchdown performance against a quality Mississippi State team, best in the conference from a offensive point of view this week. Yeah, I mean it's the type of performance that you're going to need South Carolina to have, and you're going to need Legette to have over the course of their season. With Tennessee coming up this week, with Florida coming up down the line, with A&M coming up down the line. Like, there's quality opponents to be at. Kentucky's still on the schedule. Missouri's ranked right now. So there's a lot of quality opponents left on South Carolina's schedule for them to play. If Legette can have that type of performance against them, the way that he did against Mississippi State, South Carolina can make some noise this year. But I'm going to give it to Legette on offense. You are the SEC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 4. And then on defense, I'll go with Maxwell Hairston out of the Kentucky win against Vandy. A 4-tackle performance, but the fun part that I like is a 2-pick-6 performance. Not 2 picks, not 2 interceptions, 2 separate pick sixes. One of those alone wins you Player of the Week on average. Do you know how hard that is, like, to calculate? So you take his scores off the table. Take 14 points off the win. What did they down to? 31-28? Not as good looking. If Kentucky beat Vandy 31-28, I think going in this week as a Florida fan, I'd be like, oh, they snuck by Vandy. This team is trash. But, that defense is something to fear. And Hairston has been a prime reason for that. So got to give it up for Maxwell Hairston on Kentucky's defense for putting that together, making it happen, having a great performance against a Vandy team that's looking tough right now. But so congratulations to Maxwell Hairston for being the SEC Defensive Player of the Week for Week 4. All right, wrapping us up is going to be in the Sun Belt. Georgia State, undefeated Georgia State, beating Coastal Carolina. Troy getting a close win in against Western Kentucky. Marshall with the Power 5 upset over Virginia Tech. What are you guys doing? You used to be one of the faces of college football. What are you doing? Georgia Southern just beating the brakes off Ball State. Old Dominion with a close one against Texas A&M Commerce. Good God. Arkansas State with a fairly close one against, it's a one-score game. It's a close one against Southern Miss. Texas State taking care of business against Nevada. Louisiana with a close one against Buffalo. James Madison with a close one against Utah State. So all pretty competitive across the board this week for the Sun Belt, but Sun Belt has been one of those conferences that coming out on top a lot more frequently. In terms of offensive and defensive player of the week, I give bonus points if you're a group of 5 team beating a Power 5 squad. So we're heading to Marshall. We're heading to Huntington, West Virginia for Rasheen Ali with a 174-yard, 2-touchdown rushing performance. You take that away, and Tech wins. You throw an Eli Neal on defense, a 2-tackle performance, 8 assists, and then a sack on that. Again, he's doing it against Virginia Tech. So those types of performances, you take them out of the equation, Virginia Tech wins. Those two inserting themselves into that equation is a win for Marshall. And there's a reason why Charles Huff he's going to be a Power 5 coach. I don't know where and I don't know when. He will get a job somewhere. But got to give it up to Rasheen Ali and Eli Neal on offense and defense for being these Sun Belt players of the week, and for Marshall for putting that upset together against a Power 5 squad. I don't think it's technically an upset. They may have been the favorite, but the point stands. Next up, we're going to do the what week are we in? Week 4, heading into Week 5. My top 25 rankings here. So just trying to fire through these as quick as possible. 25, I'm going to do Maryland. I like what I've seen so far out of them, undefeated. Good-looking squad. Where did I have them last week? I didn't release any, but I'll keep you honest and tell you where I had them. A little further down, so they are going to be in the top 25 for the first time this week, and presumed to be in the top 25 in my end, heading into Ohio State. 24, I've got Oregon State. Don't love the fact that they lost, had to drop them down a little bit. but I still think it's a very quality squad. They got Utah this week as kind of an opportunity to bounce back, and then we'll see what the rest of the season has in store for them. 23, I've got Duke. Duke is making their first appearance in my top 25 ranks. I did not have them in there last week, but Duke 4-0 heading into Notre Dame. Who'd have thunk it? Mike Elko is a magic man out there in Durham. 22, I've got Kansas State back in the top 25 after their UCF win. Only loss is Mizzou, but ultimately speaking, it's still a very talented Kansas State team heading into their next game here. 21, I've got Tennessee. I'm bringing them back into the top 25. What they can do with South Carolina, in my eyes, is either going to unrank them for a while or maybe cement them in the top 25 for the sort of foreseeable future. But generally speaking, I like the way Tennessee's been playing so far this year, outside that loss against old Florida. 20, I've got Utah. I have them dropping a little bit, which I think is a little hypocritical, considering they did have a ranked win this week. But generally speaking, I'm very curious about what this team's going to look like long term. The offense is just not there. The defense is it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Utah's looking a lot like Iowa right now. That's the issue I'm having. If they keep winning, they keep winning. Everything else is going to fall in line. But I'm very interested from a skill perspective as Utah can rise to the occasion against the better teams on their schedule. 19, I've got the Ags. I've got them up a few spots after their win against Auburn. I think Auburn's a quality opponent. They're not going to be in my top 25, but it was a quality win. I don't know what the rest of the season's going to look like for the Aggies, but generally speaking, I like them at 19 right now. I think it's a good, comfortable place for me to leave them for the time being. 18, I've got Louisville. I did have them ranked last week at 25, so this is a little bit of a further up. They should be 5-0 coming out that NC State game. And then we got to think about, is the Louisville a threat to win the ACC? They got Notre Dame on the schedule too. There's a lot of opportunity for LSU or Louisville to be in the spotlight for this for the rest of the season. They've done a great job so far this year. Jack Plummer's legit, and real interested in seeing how that all comes together. I said LSU earlier in my little slip up, and that's because I was reading the next line. I got LSU at 17. I had them down from 16 last week, so kind of in that general 15 to 20 range is where I've got them. I'm at 17 right now. I got Ole Miss this week. That's going to be the game of the week for me. That's if I could be in Oxford this week, that would be amazing. But generally, I think LSU has bounced back very well after that FSU week. They've come together, and this is their first, in my eyes, real challenge. To the degree of where they probably aren't the favorite coming into the Ole Miss game. They had Mississippi State beat the brakes off of them, which I didn't see that one coming. So LSU's looked real good in rebounding coming out of Orlando, and I'm interested to see if they can do it again. Talked about LSU Ole Miss. Here comes Ole Miss at 16. Experiencing that loss last week. I had them at 11 in last week's rankings. So down a little bit after your loss to Bama, but this is a chance to rebound. This is a chance for both LSU and Ole Miss to rebound. Who's going to rise to the occasion and avoid becoming the two-loss team? I don't know the answer to that, but or I will, but it'll be in its own video. But either way, it's really going to decide how the rest of the season looks like for both those squads, and I'm really looking forward to watching that game on Saturday. 15, I've got the old Irish there. Had them at 10 last week, down to 15 after their loss against Ohio State. I think the season is still very young for this squad. I think they can come out and still go very realistically 11-1. And are they going to be a playoff threat at that point? I say yes. Others can say no, but this is a very talented Notre Dame team. Sam Hartman and Audric Estime are still Heisman contenders. This team will bounce back. That was a last-second loss against a top-5 team in the country. I know it was at home. I know it was rough. It's not the end of the world. This can all be forgiven with a win against USC, with a win against Clemson, with a win against Louisville. You win those games, with a win against Duke. You win those games, it's over. You got it all together. 14, I've got give me the fruit. Give me Syracuse. I had him 15 last week, 14 this week. Got him climbing, and they got their they got they got Clemson this week. I think it's up in Syracuse, so that's their first big challenge. They want to play with the big boys. You got to beat the big boys. If Syracuse will do that, the win name brand alone, that name, that win will put them in the top 25 for the AP. I think I'm the only one not sleeping on Syracuse. I see you. I see what you're doing. Great play up there. The defense is electric. I think at one point, it was after week 3, they had both a top 5 offense and defense in all college football. Like, it's staggering what they're doing. I know that's going to slow down eventually, but if it keeps up and they keep crushing it that way, I think at this point, Dino's hot seat is 100% cooled. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a call somewhere else. I think Michigan State should be writing his number down if you want a different head coach to take the team in the direction after Mel Tucker's gone. So why not Dino? But we'll see what the rest of the season looks like before that. I said Bill O'Brien for Northwestern, Dino for Sparty, but we'll let that play out. 13, I'm going UNC. I'm going North Carolina. Bit of a boost. I had them at 20 last week, up to 13 now. Again, undefeated, looking good. Offense is clicking, defense is there. This North Carolina team is a threat to FSU. They are a threat to Miami. They are a threat to Louisville. They are a threat to Syracuse. They're going to be in the thick of it. And, I mean, personally, as long as one of FSU or Miami doesn't win the conference, I don't really care. I just want those two to not win. If North Carolina is the team I can hitch my wagon to, then, rah, Carolina. All right, 12. I'm going with the Canes. I had them at 14 last week. They're up to 12 now. Again, Miami's looked good. That win against A&M looks better and better, especially if A&M plays better and better. It's a good signature win. And, we'll see what they do against conference play. They haven't really had any challenges there so far, but, it starts up this week, and if they can get through that conference gauntlet they've got, and it'll decide, are they going to be a top 10 team this year, or are they going to fall at the top 25? Who knows? We'll find out soon enough. 11, I'm going Bama. Had them up from 13 last week up to 11 after a big bounce back win against Ole Miss. Kind of feel the vibe, kind of feel what they're about this week, and I can see Bama bouncing back. I know this is what happens with Bama. This is what happens with Bama all the time, and I hate that we fall into this trap. Every time you think, oh my God, the dynasty's over, this team is trash, they're gonna 7-5. That's when Saban he works some voodoo magic, and they run the table. Like, y'all need to stop with that. I like to doubt them when they're on top. That way, like I said last year, I'm like, this is a 10-2 Bama team. I don't care they got Bryce Young. And look what happened. They were a 10-2 Bama team. I didn't pick the losses right, but the point still stands. Don't doubt Saban. The man is smarter than any of us when it comes to the state of the program, and he knows what he's doing. They're going to be my top 1-loss team, just outside the top 10. But if they keep playing the way they're playing, if they play against others the way they did against Ole Miss, they'll be back in the top 10 shortly. Number 10, I'm going to go Michigan. They still have not done anything for me that I've really looked at them. Oh wow, that's a good-looking Michigan squad. Time will tell. I had them last week. I think Michigan fans are kind of going ahead and recording them last week. I had them at 12. I had them outside the top 10. They're 2 or 3 in the rankings right now for the AP. Whatever, they're at top 5. What has Michigan done that made you think they're a top 5 team? Who did they beat that you think, oh wow, that's a top 5 caliber squad? And the answer is nobody. It's ECU, UNLV, it's Rutgers, and then it's another group of 5 squad. I don't remember who it is, but it's nothing where I've come away thinking, oh my God, like JJ is the man. I haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying I'll never see it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I have not seen it so far. Time will tell if we will. I got FSU at 9. Again, that they got a good looking win against LSU. I don't think it's the best one in the country anymore. It definitely was coming out of week 1, but that belongs to Texas. Um, but yeah, I mean FSU with another good win against Clemson. I think you take those two combined, those are probably two of the best wins in all college football so far this year. If you're really, the if you're looking at a resume, FSU's got one of the strongest ones out there right now. I'm worried about the consistency. I'm worried about can they do this for a full season, but I'm good with 9 for right now. I could if you wanted to put them in your top 5, I could see it. If you wanted to put them at 1, I could see it. I'm not just 9 is a little bit of haterade too, but I'm good with them being at 9 for right now. I think they could easily jump up ahead of that. These next 3, we're just going to knock out the Pac-12 here. I got Washington at 8. Again, the offense is prolific. They've been nothing but talent anywhere and everywhere. Penix is in the Heisman thick of it. He's in my top 5 right now. Washington's looking legit. I put him at 8. SC is going to be at 7. Kind of the same deal. Caleb Williams. The offense is clicking. The defense is not national championship caliber. Let's say it what it is. They're not ready for the big time. The offense is carrying them. Offense looks legit. Very excited to see what they can do over the course of the rest of their season. And finishing up the Pac-12 here, let's do the Ducks. Again, kind of the same deal. Bo Nix and the offense are clicking. The defense is the difference maker between these 3. I love that Oregon defense. They're shutting everyone down. But as far as I'm concerned, they're just outside my top 5. You could make an argument for them to be in the top 5, and I could hear it, and I could put them in there. I'm just going to leave them outside for right this moment. 5, I'm going to go with the Horns. Again, that Bama win goes a long way to making this all happen. They've looked very, very good for the most part. I think their only struggle is who they play after. It was Wyoming, but didn't give Baylor an inch. Went into Bama, beat them. They are a top 5 team. They are a scary looking squad. Whether or not they can win it all or win their conference is to be seen. But Texas is looking real good right now. 4, I've got Georgia. Kind of the same deal as FSU. What has Georgia done so far this year that makes you think they're the best team in the country? Who's their signature win against? Where's their blowout win? I haven't seen any of those things. I have not looked at this Georgia team and think that they're as good as 22s or 21. If they cannot ride off the back of reputation, this is a new year. And the teams around them have done more to earn the spots ahead of them. I'm not saying they're not a talented squad. I'm not saying they're not winning the SEC East or the SEC. I think both those outcomes are most likely to happen. But at this point, I can't look at them scraping by South Carolina. I can't look at them having first half struggles against UT Martin and UAB. I can't ignore those things. There are problems on this Georgia squad that prevent me from putting them at number 1 when there are teams that have looked better and have better resumes than them. I'm good with keeping them at 4 for the time being until I see otherwise. 3, I'm going with Penn State. Penn State has looked consistent. I don't value the Iowa win as much as some others do, but the way this team has looked in the wins that they do have against the quality of teams that they have played has looked very good. It's a playoff caliber Penn State team, and it's a team that's not slowing down. I'm very optimistic if I'm a Penn State fan. I think they have a great future ahead of them this year and beyond. I'll leave them at 3 for right now because they have looked incredibly complete. 2, I'm going with the Sooners. I know people are losing their minds thinking about that. Like, how do you have them at 2? That offense is elite. That defense is stand out. It's the same deal. Like, they just look incredibly complete. I have issues with some of their consistency. Don't get me wrong. Like, I could have them lower on this list because of that. I'm going to keep them at 2 right now purely for the talent and coaching. And that leaves Ohio State at number 1. I've had them at number 1, I think, since the start of the season. And that Notre Dame win cements it. They went on the road. They faced their criticisms head on, and they took care of business against a high-quality Notre Dame squad. Ohio State, in my eyes, is the team to beat until they get beat. I don't care if Georgia's the defending champ. I don't care if Michigan's the defending Big Ten champ. Ohio State has looked the part, and they're complete now. So, on my top 25 rankings, let's go into Week 5 previews and just knock these out real quick. We should be able to get these out in under a half hour. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky. Yeah, that's the one that's about to start in about 10 minutes. I'm recording this Thursday night. Western Kentucky is the favored by 6.5. Total is 60. I'm thinking Western Kentucky to win. I'll take MTSU cover under on 60. I think Western Kentucky is just a more complete squad, but Middle Tennessee will give them a little bit of a problem due to the similarity in terms of how these teams run their offense. It's very pass heavy. Western Kentucky will win, but it will be closer than probably they like to give themselves credit for. Temple at Tulsa. Tulsa's the favored by 3.5, total 55.5. I didn't do a score prediction for the last one. I'm a little rusty, aren't I? Western Kentucky, 31. Middle Tennessee, 28. So 3-point win for Western, which means take that under on the 6.5. That's the bet. Let's go Temple at Tulsa. So Tulsa's the favored by 3.5, total 55.5. I'm going to go Tulsa to win, Temple to cover, and under. I'm going to say 26-25 is what the model has for me. So a close win for Tulsa. I think neither of these teams has really shown up so far this year, but 26-25 is a 51, so definitely taking the under on that one going into Week 5. Jacksonville State at Sam Houston State, the two new FBS squads. Jacksonville State's the favored by 6.5, and the total is 36.5. I think JSU takes care of business. They win, they cover, and I'm going to go under on 36.5. Because Sam Houston has no offense. I'm going to go Jacksonville State 24. My model says Sam Houston 8, so you can use 7 if you want. But JSU is going to beat the brakes off Sam Houston. It's not happening for Sam Houston. They're still quite a ways away. Louisville at NC State. Louisville's the favored by 3.5, and the total is 55.5. I'm going to go Louisville wins, Louisville covers, and the over. I'm going to go Louisville 32, NC State 24. So an 8-point win for Louisville. You can do 31-24. That works for me as well. But, Louisville's looking very, very good so far this year. And I don't think it slows down against NC State, who's had their ups and downs. But Louisville marches out of that with a 5-0 record, and they should be in the top 25 by then. I'm going to skip Utah, Oregon State. Going to get its own video tomorrow. So let's go Louisiana Tech and UTEP. Louisiana Tech at UTEP. Louisiana Tech is the favorite. They're favored by 1, and the total is 53. I'm going to go Louisiana Tech wins. They cover, and the under 53. Final score 28-23 Louisiana Tech. UTEP is not good. They're just not. Louisiana Tech takes care of business by more than 1. I don't care where this game is being played. Louisiana, Texas are on the move. Louisiana Tech is going to be fine. Next up, we got Cincinnati at BYU. Cincinnati's the favorite. They're favored by 2, and the total is 48.5. I got Cincinnati wins, BYU covers, and over on 48.5. The model actually has this as a 26-26 tie, so that can't happen. So Cincinnati wins, but in a very, very close one. If you want to get down to it, it's 26.05, like that rate, and then BYU is going to have 25 and let's say a half. So Cincinnati by like 1. Definitely like the over on 48.5. But I think the offense is there specifically for Cincinnati. They look good on that end of the ball for the majority of the year so far, and I don't see that slowing down against BYU. Penn State at Northwestern. Penn State's the favored by 27. Total is 46. Penn State wins, Northwestern covers, and the over on 46. I'm going to say Penn State 33, Northwestern 16 is what the model has. That kind of rounds out like 34, 35, 17. That doesn't sound too bad. I think Northwestern has been playing above their pay grade so far these last few weeks. I think Penn State may take a little bit of a step back and underestimate them after a quality win at home. This one is on the road. It's at noon kickoff, which is an 11 a.m. kickoff in Chicago. I know Northwestern's not in Chicago, but leave me alone. Um, but I think Penn State still has no problem with Northwestern. It's just a matter of 27 is a large margin to cover. Next up, USC at Colorado. USC is the favored by 21 and a half. Total is 73 and a half. I'm going to go USC wins. I'll go Colorado covers, and the total is going to be, I'm going to go under on the total. Final score prediction is USC 44, Colorado 26. So to make that nicer, that'd be like, what, 45, 27, 28, something like that. I think USC is going to take care of business, no problem at all. They just have no defense. I know Colorado's got a few players, but ultimately that SC defense still looks like garbage. Colorado should be able to score well on them. They still got Yoshida Sanders at QB, who, at least in my, should be able to put up some numbers against USC. So I think USC wins, but not by the larger margin that they've been provided so far. I'm going to skip Florida, Kentucky. That's going to get some video. Next up is Texas A&M versus Arkansas. Texas A&M is the favorite. They are favored by 6.5, and the total is 54.5. I'm going to go Texas wins at the neutral site. I'll go Arkansas covers, but I'll go over on 54.5. I'm going to say Aggies 31, Arkansas 27, a 4-point win. But I think the offense has come out to play a little bit, kind of surprisingly. You think it's going to be a little more low scoring, more defensive minded, but I think both the offenses kind of come to play a little bit out there in Jerryland. Next we got Louisiana at Minnesota. Minnesota's the favored by 11, and the total was 48.5. I got Minnesota wins, Minnesota covers, and the over on 48.5. Big bounce back win for Minnesota. I think they're going to go 38 to 20 Minnesota. The offensive production comes out a little bit more. I think they should be able to take care of this Louisiana defense, who doesn't play at the same capacity that Minnesota does. And ultimately, I think Minnesota comes out this 3-2 and ready to bounce back for the rest of the season. Utah State at UConn. Utah State's the favorite. They are favored by 6. The total is 51. I'm going to go Utah State wins, covers, and hits the over on 51. Utah State 34, UConn 24. So a 10-point win, hits the over on 51. UConn has just not looked good so far. Utah State has been pedestrian, but UConn is back to their old ways. I think Utah State takes advantage of that, knocks them out the park. I'm going to skip Clemson. Syracuse gets its own video, so let's go down to UAB at Tulane. How many more we got? Quite a few. All right, let's roll through these. UAB Tulane. I'm going to go. Tulane is the favorite. They're favored by 21.5. Total is 58.5. Tulane wins. UAB covers and under. So official prediction: Tulane 32, UAB 22. So a little bit closer than what Tulane likes. I think UAB is talented. I think they've got some pieces there, and I know Tulane is kind of that de facto group of 5 team to watch right now. But I think UAB can give them some problems they're not seeing right now. So I'll take Tulane to win, but I really like UAB to cover. South Alabama at James Madison. James Madison's the favored by 3, and the total is 50. I'm going to go James Madison wins, James Madison covers, and the over on 50. Official prediction is 29-26 James Madison, so that hits it exactly. Due to rounding errors, I like the over more. I definitely like the over on 50. I think the offenses will be a little bit more alive in this game than what Vegas is projecting, specifically on James Madison's part. They got a great looking offense out there in the group of 5. Buffalo at Akron. Akron's the favorite. They're favored by 2.5, and the total is 55. I'm going to take Akron win, Akron cover, over on 55. Final score prediction: Akron 32, Buffalo 28. So a 4-point win. Definitely like the over on 55. Buffalo's defense has looked atrocious so far this year. I think Akron takes advantage of it, and scores just enough to eclipse that 55 point margin. Next up is Eastern Michigan at Central Michigan. Central Michigan is the favorite. They're favored by 7.5 points, and the total is 48. I'm taking Central to win, Eastern to cover, and over on 48. I really like Eastern to cover on this one. Eastern's offenses look terrific. Central's defenses look horrific. And final score prediction is going to be 25-24 Eastern. So it ends up being a close one, closer than probably both teams like, but Central comes away with it. Next up is Virginia at Boston College. Boston College is the favorite. They're favored by 3.5, and the total is 55. I'm going to take Boston College wins, covers, and hits the over. This UVA team is terrible. They're going to be 0-5. Boston College hopefully showed a spark of life over the course of this year. I'm going to say BC 33, Virginia 28, in a fairly close one, but one that it hits over on that 3.5 and really hits the over on 55. Next up is Miami, Ohio at Kent State. Miami is the favorite. They're favored by 14.5, and the total is 48. I'm going to take Miami win, Kent State cover, and then over on 48, and that's the one I like a little bit more. Just due to the fact that Miami's offenses look good, Kent State's defenses look terrible. I'm going to say Miami 36 to Kent State 21. That technically is Miami covering on the score as well. It's just, again, due to rounding errors, I like it going the other way. But I think Miami has no problem with Kent State. Next up is Arizona State at Cal. So Cal is the favorite, favored by 12.5, and the total is 47. I'm taking Cal to win. I'm taking Arizona State to cover. I'm taking the over on 46 or 47. That's the one I actually like. So I'm going to say Cal 31, Arizona State 22, 9-point win. Again, I think Cal is decent enough. Arizona State's in shambles, and the rest will fall into place. Georgia Auburn, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. Georgia's the favorite, favored by 14.5, and the total is 45.5. I'm going to take Georgia to win. I'll take Auburn to cover, and I'll take over on 45.5. Official prediction is going to be Georgia 30, Auburn 22. 8-point win. Georgia fans will be pissed. Auburn will kind of be up in the air with it. They don't like losing to Georgia, but as far as I'm concerned, Georgia is going to squeak away with one that they probably should think is a little wider than they'd like. Next up is Michigan at Nebraska. Michigan's the favorite, favored by 17. Total is 39. I'm going to take Michigan to win, Nebraska to cover, and the under on 39. Final score prediction is going to be Michigan 25, Nebraska 14. Again, I haven't seen a whole lot of Michigan so far this year. That makes me believe that they're going to go out and blow the brakes off Nebraska. But they'll still win. They'll still win fairly comfortably, and they'll come out of it probably with more questions than answers when we're all said and done. Next up is Kansas at Texas. Texas is the favorite, favored by 16.5. Total is 61.5. I'm taking Texas wins, Kansas covers, and the under in 61.5. Final score prediction 29-25 Texas. I don't have Kansas ranked, but I don't think they're a slouch by any means. I think they're going to give Texas a real problem out there. And while Texas will win, they're going to have to retool some things heading into the Cotton Bowl there. Indiana at Maryland. Maryland's the favorite, favored by 14, and the total is 50. I'm taking Maryland to win. Indiana covers and the under on 50. Final score prediction is 28-17 Maryland. So not the offensive, powder keg that you're used to with Maryland. But I think that's just due to the fact that Indiana has shut out some good-looking squads so far this year, or shut down some good-looking offensive squads this year. I think they'll be able to do the same to Maryland, but I really like under on 50 any way you slice it. Next up is Illinois at Purdue. It's a pick'em, and the total is 53.5. I'm going to take Illinois to win. I'll take them 27-26 in a close one. Purdue has just not looked good so far this year. This really is probably a 3 or 4 win team. Illinois has at least done enough to give me confidence that they can go into Purdue and beat them. Next up is Bowling Green at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's the favorite. They're favored by 26, and the total is 51. I'm going to take Tech. Tech wins. Tech covers at the over. I'm going to say Georgia Tech 46 is the official Yeah, it's the official number I'm going with, and then Bowling Green 20. Georgia Tech's defense has not looked all that great, but I think their offense will be able to supply them with more than enough to cover that 51. I like that bet a lot more. And Georgia Tech will be coming out of that game 3-2 and ready to take on the world. Houston at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the favorite. They're favored by 8.5, and the total is 51. I'm taking Tech wins, Houston covers, and over on 51. Tech winning would be nice. They just have not done a whole lot to give me faith in them as a program this year. I think a win against Houston at home will be kind of a nice bounce back feeling and let them know what they can do. Houston's at the bottom of the Big 12 right now, and Texas can rebound in a big way. This week I think it ends up being close. It's a 27-26 game by my model. That's just due to the fact that Texas Tech has not looked good this year. They can look good this week though, but I'll take Houston to cover. Baylor at UCF. UCF is the favorite. They're favored by 11.5, and the total is 55.5. I'm taking UCF wins, UCF covers, under on 55.5. 33-20 is my final score for UCF Baylor. So I like the under on 55.5. I just, again, haven't seen a whole lot of fantastic play out of Baylor so far this year. I think UCF's defense shuts them down in a pretty big way. And UCF gets their first ever Big 12 win. Okay, Arkansas State at UMass. UMass is the favorite, favored by 1, and the total is 55.5. I say UMass wins, UMass covers, over on 55.5. Final score prediction 32-28 UMass. Like the over on 55, I think with both teams having such a bad defense, the offenses will or luck their way into over on the 55. Both these teams are not good in any real way, shape, or form, and that favors the offenses. So I'll take the over on 55 and a UMass win. USF at Navy. So Navy is the favorite. They're favored by 3.5, and the total is 54.5. I'm taking Navy to win, USF to cover, under on 54.5. 25-22 field goal win for Navy at home. So really like the under on the 54.5. When you think of Navy, you really do think of the under. Neither of these teams are going to score, and it's going to be long drives as a result. But I'll take Navy to win a close one at home, and really the under on 54.5. Next up, we've got Old Dominion at Marshall. Marshall's the favorite. They're favored by 14. Total is 46.5. I'll take Marshall to win, Old Dominion to cover, and under on 46.5. This is just one that Marshall overlooks. I'll take a 26-19 touchdown win for Marshall. I'm just taking the vibe of the game, the average play that we've seen from both these squads. I know Marshall's kind of been up a little more. Old Dominion swings down a little more. But I'll take Marshall in a close one. Old Dominion will cover. Next up is Ball State at Western Michigan. So we got Western Michigan's the favorite, favored by 1.5, and the total is 50.5. I'm taking Western Michigan to win. I'll take Ball State to cover, which means it's going to be a tight one, and then I'll take the over on 50.5. So my actual score prediction is 28-27 Western. So liking the over on 50.5, but the spread doesn't lie. It is going to be a close one where Ball State's bad offense meets Western Michigan's bad defense. Same with Western Michigan's bad offense meeting Ball State's bad defense. One of them's going to have to crack open, but right now I'm thinking Western in a close one there. And it favors the offenses for me. Northern Illinois at Toledo here. So Toledo's the favorite, favored by 13.5. Total is 48.5. I'm taking Toledo to win, Toledo to cover, and over on 48.5, which I like that one more. I'm going to say 33-18 Toledo. Not going to be a problem there. They're the best team out there in the back. They're going to have no problem with Northern Illinois. Mizzou at Vandy. Mizzou's the favorite, favored by 13.5, and the total is 54.5. I'll take Mizzou wins, Vandy covers, and over on 54.5. I think this is a trap game for Missouri after their 4-0 start. I'm going to say 31-27. It ends up being a lot closer than probably what they like. This has trap game written all over it. Vandy's like the trap game if you don't take them seriously. I think that's what ends up happening for Mizzou going out to Nashville and just overlooking it when they look at who's the rest on their schedule there. Boise State at Memphis. Memphis is the favorite. Memphis is favored by 3.5. Total is 59.5. I'm going to take Memphis wins, Memphis covers and under. I'm going to say final score 34-23 Memphis. I think they, yeah, yes, Memphis covers. No, I wrote down Boise covers. That's not correct. Yeah, Memphis will cover. Um, in that case, it's not going to be not much of a challenge for Memphis this year. I think they'll take care of business there. Memphis is a good-looking, American team, and Boise has dropped some here and there. All right, Hawaii at UNLV. UNLV is the favored by 11, and the total is 59.5. I'm taking UNLV to win, Hawaii to cover, and the under on 59.5. I'm going to say 33-26, so a touchdown win for UNLV. I just don't think either teams look particularly good. UNLV has had a couple of nicer moments, and that drives them over the fact. But with conference play coming into fruition this way, I'll take Hawaii to at least challenge them a little bit and cover the spread on that 11. Next up, we got New Mexico at Wyoming. Let's see what we got left. Yeah, New Mexico at Wyoming. Wyoming's the favored by 14. Total is 52. I'm taking Wyoming to win. I'm taking New Mexico to cover the over on 52. I'm going to say Wyoming 30, New Mexico 26 or 27. So 3-point win from Wyoming. I think it's just it's a high-scoring affair either way, and it all kind of comes out the way that it comes out. But I'll take Wyoming in a close one at home. I'll skip LSU Ole Miss for its own video, so let's go Oregon Stanford. All right, Oregon Stanford. Oregon's favored by 27. Total is 61. I'm going to take Oregon to win. I will take Stanford to cover, and I will take the over on 61. I'm going to say Oregon 43, Stanford 18. So not particularly close, right around that 27-point mark. So I do like Stanford to cover by a little bit. It's just a huge spread. That's the one that I dislike. But Oregon is dynamic this year. I think they take care of business. I think Stanford just stepped up in a little bit to sneak into the coverage there. Iowa State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's the favored by 20, and the total is 48.5. I'm taking Oklahoma to win, Iowa State to cover, and then under on 48.5. Final score prediction: Oklahoma 32. Iowa State 15, so 31-14, you want to do that, I'm cool with that too. But yeah, I think Oklahoma takes care of business. It's an Iowa State team that kind of came out swinging a little bit last week. If they can come out swinging again, Oklahoma may have a problem, but they're too talented from top to bottom to worry about what's going on at Iowa State this year. ECU at Rice. Rice is the favored by 3.5. Total is 46.5. I'm thinking Rice wins. ECU covers over on 46.5. 31-28 Rice win. So I really like the offenses coming out. It's really just due to the fact that Rice doesn't really have that good of a defense. ECU doesn't have that good of an offense, but Rice has a pretty solid looking offense so far. The offenses are going to come alive this week, at least in that game. Coastal Carolina at Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is the favorite. They're favored by 6.5, and the total is 64.5. I say Georgia Southern wins. Coastal covers under on 64.5. I think it ends up being a close one, 27-25. Georgia Southern. Haven't liked whatever we've seen out of Coastal this year. Have really liked what I've seen out of Georgia Southern so far. So I'll take them, but it is going to be a close one, and the offenses are not going to explode the way that we may expect them to. Troy at Georgia State. Georgia State's the favored by 1. Total is 51. Thinking Georgia State wins, covers, and over on 51. 33-24, 9-point win for Georgia State. They've just looked very, very good so far, and I think when it's all said and done, they may end up being the ranked team coming out of the Sun Belt. I thought it might have been Troy. I thought it might have been James Madison or Louisiana, or App State. But it may be Georgia State this year, and win this week will do it, or may do it soon. Texas State at Southern Miss. Texas State is the favorite. They're favored by 5.5, and the total is 62.5. I'm taking Texas State wins, covers, and hits the over. I'm going to say 39-25. Texas State 2-score win. No real issue. Texas State has looked legit so far as a squad this year. I don't see Southern Miss being any sort of fight against them. Going to skip Notre Dame Duke for its own video, so let's go into South Carolina, Tennessee. We're almost at the finish line. Tennessee is the favored by 12. Total is 63.5. Tennessee wins. South Carolina covers, and then under on 63.5. I'm going to say 31-23 Tennessee. So an 8-point win, right around that 12-point mark. I do think Tennessee's defense kind of calms things down and calms down the pace of play a little bit, and it ends up becoming the under is the real bet here. I think under that 63.5 is the big one. But 3-2 Carolina does not have a good ring to it. If you are a Gamecocks fan, gotta think about what you got to do to save the rest of the season there. Next up is Michigan State at Iowa. Iowa's the favored by 12.5. Total is 36. I'm saying Iowa wins. Sparty covers over on 36. Final prediction is 22-20 Iowa. Iowa's offense is in disarray. Michigan State's coaching staff is in disarray. One of them prevailed, but I do think it ends up being an ugly game between these two squads that Iowa prevails out of in a close one. Charlotte at SMU. SMU is the favored by 23.5. Total is 53.5. I'm going to say SMU wins, Charlotte covers, and under on 53.5. Final prediction is 29-19 SMU. If Charlotte's offense can put it together, I think they're going to struggle to. They'll be fine. But I mean, Charlotte covered against Florida. SMU is not in that same tier, and from my perspective, I don't know if it's an indictment on Florida, but it shows that Charlotte can play to a competitive level when they wish to be. 23.5 just seems like a very big spread to me for SMU at home. I don't think SMU ends up winning by 10, but I don't think they end up winning by more than 23.5. Pitt at Virginia Tech. Pitt's the favored by 2.5. Total is 39.5. I'm taking Pitt wins. I'll take Vatek covers, and then I will take over on 39.5. That's the actual thing that I'll take. Score prediction is 25-22, which is technically 3 and technically over on Pitt. Again, it just works itself out to the way the rounding works here. But 25-22 is definitely the over on 39.5. I think the defenses don't come up in the same way that maybe they have in the past. I think Pitt's offense comes together a little bit. I know that's been their pain point this year, and I think it ends up resolving itself against Virginia Tech. Next up is West Virginia at TCU. TCU is the favored by 12.5. Total is 52. TCU wins. West Virginia covers, and over on 52. Prediction is 28-24 TCU. Close one. West Virginia's been playing above their pay grade so far this year. I don't know why they would stop against TCU. TCU's rebounded fairly well after their week 1 loss, so they're going to continue to be on that track. But it's not going to be a TCU blowout by any means. West Virginia will play them hard, and will give them a challenge, whether it's in West Virginia or on the road, and that's going to be the case for this game. Next up is App State at ULM. So App State's the favored by 13.5, over on 50.5. I'm taking App State wins, ULM covers, and over on 50.5. 34-22 App State, so a 12-point win versus 13.5. And I mean, really, the over is the big one there. 34-22 is 56. So definitely the offense is mainly App State. They have a good-looking offense so far this year. I think that ends up carrying the over on 50.5. San Diego State at Air Force. Air Force the favored by 10.5. Total is 43.5. Air Force wins. Air Force covers, over on 43.5. 32-17 Air Force. 2-score win. Air Force has looked very, very good so far this year. Offense is clicking, defense is clicking. I'm not going to stop against San Diego State, so hit that over on 43.5. Air Force is going to have to work on their own, more than half. So that 43.5 to me seems like free money at this point. Alabama at Mississippi State. Alabama is the favored by 14.5. Total is 47. Bama wins. Mississippi State covers, over on 47. The model I've got says 29-23 Alabama. The road game takes into effect. Starkville is not an easy place to play. I know LSU beat them out, but I just don't see that happening again for Bama. I think there's a little bit of pride there for Mississippi State. It will show. during the course of this game. So I'll take Mississippi State in a close one, and the whole "what's wrong with Bama" conversation starts itself over again. Washington at Arizona. Washington's a favorite, favored by 18. Total is 69.5. I'll take Washington win. Arizona cover and under on 69.5. I think under in a big way. I'll take 33-22. A little bit of a close one there. I just don't think I don't think we can expect to see 50 points again week after week after week after week. Eventually, it's going to slow down. Arizona is a perfect trap game in the middle of the season, late at night. It's the Pac-12 after dark, and when no one's watching, maybe the offense is going to take the night off. Good. I mean, Arizona's got a good-looking defense. Don't sleep on them. So I'll take the under on 69.5 as Washington wins in a fairly comfortable one. And the last one here is Nevada at Fresno State. Fresno State's the favored by 24.5, and then the total is 49.5. I'll take Fresno State wins, Nevada covers, but the over on 49.5. Final prediction is 40-18 Fresno State. They've looked legit all year. Nevada's looked terrible all year. So it's just under that 24.5, but I really like the over on 49.5. Fresno takes care of business. No, Nevada's not a threat to them, and they're going to move on to the rest of their Mountain West Conference schedule there. So that concludes this episode of the New Year Six podcast. Tune in throughout the rest of the week for those individual game predictions. So Utah, Oregon State, Florida, Kentucky, Clemson, Syracuse, LSU, Ole Miss, and Notre Dame, Duke. Those videos will be released tomorrow, considering this is Thursday. And yeah, let me know your thoughts below. What teams are you liking? What are your thoughts for the week? What are you excited for? And short week from a filming perspective, because week 5 is just around the corner. So thank you all for your time. Like and subscribe, and looking forward to talking about football with you in the future.